Hey, doing a bit of a night stream from home, testing out my new microscope, which is pretty similar to my old microscope actually. And hey, Samsung, how's it going? Yeah, this is pretty nice. Um, just playing around with some of the settings, and I ran into this little worm. I think it's a Naiadae worm. There's also a little nematode in the background. Doing pretty good. Uh, it's the weekend. I've got the microscope at home. I didn't have to do a whole lot of work next week. Things are getting a little easy because it's towards the end of the semester. So, going pretty good. So, I also have this is just the 20x objective. So, this is 200 times magnification. And sorry, I'm going to play with the settings a little bit here. See what we can do. There's the other end of that guy. Yeah, this is dark field. So my new microscope has a dark field stop on it, and I just wanted to see how it would look. It's looking pretty good, I think. It's got slightly different objectives than my old microscope as well. These ones are a little bit more. These are end plan, I think. So they're a little bit different. Do they have stomachs? Yeah. In fact, I still haven't added a mouse, a cursor, but that's its stomach right there in the field of view. You can see what it's been eating. It's like a mix of algae. Can't see anything in particular though. Let's kind of look around a little bit and see what else we can find. Let's see. I just want to tweak some of the settings a little and see what we can do about the picture quality. You're fascinated by what we do? You've been binge watching Microbe Hunter's YouTube channel? Oh, that's pretty cool. Just trying to get the optics a little bit cleaner. Maybe if let's see. I'm going to play with some of the settings here. Is this a flat slide or weld? These are flat slides, so I'm just using it's just basically a simple slide with a slide cover. So just a couple of drops of water. This is a sample from my pond. Sorry, just still tweaking the settings a little bit. Yeah, all of it's in the little space in the cover slip. This is just a scraping I took from the side of my koi pond. And the algae that's in there, this sort of green algae that's probably Cladophora, is sort of giving them a lot of space. The organisms that are in there, they sort of have a lot of space as a result of that because it's kind of filling up a lot of the space. And then, the microbes that are in there, they're little tiny little guys like these ones. They're really small compared to that. All right, let's see if I take it out of bright field or dark field. I'm going to just move it back into DIC. That's differential interference contrast illumination. So a little bit different. This one allows me to adjust the contrast settings a lot. And the sort of 3D nature of it right here is the specialization of DIC light. So it gives it a really sharp sort of three-dimensional shape. There's a nematode. You only learned about DIC a few days ago. It's sort of what separates the I don't know how to say it politely, sort of cheap scopes from the high-end microscopes. So research grade microscopes are really the only kind that would give you DIC. It's way more expensive. The lenses are, you know, more like $1,000 each lens, basically. So it ends up being a little bit too much for your average microscope user, unless you're doing research. You probably don't need DIC. So, because I am a person who studies diatoms, and I do take pictures for publication, the DIC is actually useful for me. I think it gives the picture a nice rich quality. Oh, I'm zoomed in. Sorry about that. I always forget. Zoom back out. That's just a nematode worm. What's what's going on, Mallory? You can't wait to never address your personal shortcomings again. Oh, well, is that what a crystal will do for you? I mean, I have some crystals, but they're inside rocks for the most part. I'm not very good with the rules for what you need to do to make the crystals magical. Oh, it's amethyst. Okay. These are some diatoms on the stalks here. Those are Gomphanema. In their life conditions, the bottom part, the sort of Y-shaped thing, connects two sibling valves together. And so they're sisters, the clones of the same diatom. And you can see the chloroplasts in them, so these ones are living. And normally the stalk would then be connected to something, like the side of my koi pond, but I scraped it apart. These are diatoms, big zinc. I think you can learn about diatoms if you just do this. There you go. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Let's see if I can find something else that's moving around. I don't know if I'm going to get Mr. Wiggles back on the screen for you, Mallory, but there are some other things in here, so it was kind of sitting on the edge of a clump of stuff, so oops, there's something wiggling around right there. It's moving too fast. Yeah, I think that's another nematode. They get a little spazzy. I kind of need to zoom out or you'll never be able to see them. He's really going crazy. Now he's gone. Oh, now he's back. There's a little rotifer. again, it's sort of stuck in between a bunch of the algae, so I'm going to move around, see if I can find a different one. That little guy, protozoan. Had him for a second there. It makes you hesitant to swim in a lake. Well, they're microscopic, so they really can't harm you. This little guy, this little ciliate, they mostly feed on decomposing matter, so they don't even want to bother you, even if they could. Here's a little nematode, and that one's moving slow enough we could actually see it. This one's decided not to wiggle like crazy for a couple of minutes here. I mean, most of these things are so small, they wouldn't bother you even if they did bite you. You probably wouldn't notice. If they found their way inside you, you'd probably just digest them. So they're not generally parasitic to people. If you want something like that, just drink from some stagnant water. That will give you Giardia or many other bacteria, which are kind of dangerous. That wasn't me recommending you actually do that, by the way. Are those worm things crawling on you right now, Big Zinc? Probably not. Not if you took a bath recently. Maybe if you've been out playing in the dirt, you'll have some nematodes on you, but my guess is, generally speaking, no. I don't know. Is it beaver fever? I don't know. I don't know the names, the common names. I just know it's like a bacteria from snails. So it's not something you want. There are some dangerous organisms that live in freshwater systems, like brain-eating amoeba. Oh, there's one that's come out to play. See if I can get it in focus. Oh, I had it for a second again. Optics are really nice. Just need to kind of back out a little bit so you can see what I'm seeing. There's another, that one's a rotifer. Rotifers are little predators for the most part. They don't eat people though, so you don't need to worry about them either. It says he's got a little tail that he's attached to the algae with, a little spiky end, and it has two little toes that it uses. Sometimes they have three toes, so maybe it has three that it uses attached to the algae, and then it's just kind of rooting around looking for little tiny pieces of food to eat. Am I being raided? Tech Relic, are you raiding me? Have I been raided? My cousin once had an amoeba get in his sinuses, and he ended up blind in one eye. Oh, yeah? That's interesting. Oh, Glorgana's coming? Okay. You've ruined the surprise for me, Tech. When she comes, I'll just pretend like I'm totally shocked. I had no idea. Yeah, it'll be good. I'll work on my surprise face. I'll be like, what's Glorgana looking at? Something gross tonight? Or is it not gross? I raided her last time and she was putting together an opossum skull or something. So I don't know if she's still doing that. It looked like a bit of a puzzle. I like puzzles, but not out of bone. It looked pretty challenging. Maybe less challenging if you know where the pieces go, right? If you actually know what, you're not just trying to sticking things together. Oh, there's the raid. We got raided by Glorgana. Hey, Glorgana, welcome in. Medium gross? Okay. I don't know what qualifies as medium gross. We're talking about brain-eating amoebas, so and also Mallory's cousin who got a amoeba in their brain apparently from their sinuses and caused their eye to go blind. Oh, here comes my Etch-a-Sketch powers. This is a ciliate. That little guy right there, that was a ciliate. So it has tiny little hairs around the outside of its body, or maybe it's a flagellate actually. Oh no, I think that's a ciliate. You can see a little sort of distortion around the front end of it, where it looks like it's kind of crawling. Those are little cilia. Sorry, that's what it uses to locomotion and also to pull food towards its mouth. Yeah, what a pleasant surprise. How did we know you were going to raid? Oh, a starling? Oh, cool. You know, sometimes you do the cool birds. Starlings are pretty but annoying. So, pretty bird, but they come and they eat all of my suet. Like in one sitting. What's going on here, huh? You want to see the raid? Oh. You want to see what's in the microscope? In here? Anything good in there? That's my cat Wednesday. Your bitrate crashed. Yeah, brain-eating amoebas really only occur in like hot water, hot. Most commonly, they're like hot streams and places where springs that are hot. They're not usually in like lakes. I guess they can occur there. It's just chances of you actually getting a brain eating amoeba attack you is really small. So that's a rotifer. See, it's got a little. Oh wait, can't tell if it's a rotifer or a ciliate actually. It's got little ciliate on its face, but I think it's a rotifer. See, it's got a little tail with a little tail with toes. That's actually, it's like a foot with little toes. Yeah. Hey, Micah. You didn't even have to use the channel points. That's right. I put Wednesday on the mic and on a Saturday, no less. No channel points needed. I really need to revise what you can do with the channel points to make it something more fun. I don't know what kind of fun things I could make, but you know, Wednesday always wants to come see what's going on up here, so there's another rotifer. When we first started, I put it on, there was a giant worm on the screen. Maybe I can find that again. I mean, it was really big. Not just a nematode, but a serious big worm. Not an earthworm or anything like that, but maybe related. It's oh, there's another rotifer. You can see it's eating. That's its mastex on the inside there. Hey, a new follower. Thanks, Bruce Follow, Boost Follow, Boo, Bucefalo. I don't know how you say that. See, it's got a little tail with two little toes, and then at the top, it's got a little corona that it's spinning around to try to nibble at some of that algae. So, where's the sample from? The sample's from my backyard. I've got a koi pond right outside that window over there. And I just went out there with a little bit of. I took one of the slides and I scraped the side wall of the koi pond. I don't have any koi in there, but I do have goldfish. And I went out to feed them earlier today, and I thought, oh, I should go see what's living in that algal mass that's on the side. It's mostly Cladophora on the side. It's the stringy green algae that you see all over the place in here. It's colonized by a bunch of smaller algae, but the straight parts are green algae. There's a ciliate. They don't want to sit still for very long. There we go. You can see that's like a paramecium. It's got a little fringe of cilia that runs sort of like in an arc towards the top of its head, and then some cilia at the back end. There have been some rotifers in here, Scotty. Choose something to magnify, because I don't always have the same thing on, you know? If it's just going to sit there, though, let's see if I can get a little closer. There we go. If it's just going to hang out, we can get in nice and close. So let's see. If you're wondering about what the magnification is right now, I'm on 20x times 0.7 times 5. So maybe like that's like 700 times magnification, if I'm doing my math right. So not too bad. It's digitally magnified for the 5x, but size of it would be it's about 700 times bigger than it is in real life right now. See how it spins the little cilia? And it pulls stuff towards its face. Its mouth is in there. It's trying to pull stuff towards its mouth. You can see the particles that, when it spins the hairs, the little particles that move towards it. It creates like a tiny little current, basically. Yeah, it's pretty cute. All right, I guess I have to zoom back out or I'll never figure out where anything is. You can see there's a little vignette around the outside edge. That's the actual like limit of my microscope. And when we zoom in, I'm just zooming in digitally, but I do have a 400x and a 1000x options on here as well. There's that little critter. Not sure why it's showing me all that stuff. You don't need to see all that. Unless you're just curious what my ISO is. So yeah, new microscope. It's looking pretty sharp. And let's see if I do this. You get a little dark field action. I actually prefer DIC to dark field. I think the resolution on dark field's a little lower, but I think it also makes for a pretty background. So there's that. The camera that I use, I see that you're trying to get that information out. I don't, is there a command for that? Maybe it's just cam. Yeah, there you go. I'm using my Mark II. I actually have a Mark III as well. That's slightly higher end camera. And then I'm just using the HDMI out into a capture card. So this thing that you can see right here, this is so it's a trinocular microscope. That just means that there's an opening at the top for a camera mount. And this will actually mount a video camera that comes with it normally, but I took the video camera off and I just put an actual camera on. This is a C mount that connects it to the video camera mount. It's the same sort of a mount that like a security camera has. And the lens for it is inside this piece right here, the camera adapter, the silver piece. So it's like a microscope lens, and the lens is this is the 0.7 times right here, the magnifier. It's actually reducing the image, not magnifying it. But I probably could put a 1x on there or even a 2x. And I have a mount that we might be able to use for that at school. So I might try bringing it home and playing with that a little bit here. Yeah. It's actually narrowing down the scope. That's why you can see a little bit of the vignette around the outside edge. Yeah. Yes. It's slightly off. The eyepiece and the camera mount are just slightly off. But it's so small, it's fine focus differences. So like at this magnification, at just the 20x with no digital, you can't tell that it's not parfocal. But if I put it onto 40x, you could tell, just barely. I'd have to tweak it a little bit whenever I. Oh, somebody's coming to visit. A rotifer. Yeah, it's like he's connected to this piece, or he's about to. There you go. That's a rotifer. You see how it's attached? There's another little rotifer on there that's kind of like a turtle shape. Oh, he's just detached and attached to something else. And he's trying to escape. Should say she, not he. Oh, you can see that's got. They can spin their little corona and just take off, like that one just did. They've got. I don't know if I can catch up with it. Oh, here's that giant worm. Hey, Samsung, thanks for the subscription. It's a little dark, I guess. I'm going to tweak that. There you go. So in the dark field, you can really see a lot of, it's very dramatic looking, right? Because the background's black, and then the organisms stand out really brightly. It's just hanging out inside this grass, this algae. There's another little nematode right there. Normally, well, I shouldn't say normally. Most of the time, I'm streaming from my SEM in my other lab, my actual lab, not my home lab. But I do have this microscope at home, and so I've been doing a little bit of streaming with it on YouTube, but I haven't done a Twitch stream for a while, so I thought it would be fun to do a night stream and test out my new microscope. That's a big worm. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out, and thanks for the subscription. And no big deal. If you gotta go, you gotta go. Is this transmission or reflection microscopy? This is a transmitted light microscope. So this is what you call a compound microscope typically, and what it means is that we're seeing through the things, right? So that's for people who don't know what a transmission, what it means by what Satica means by that. It's the light's coming from the bottom of the microscope, and there's a light source at the bottom. It just shines up through a filter into a condenser, and then there's the stage where the sample is, and then there's objectives, and then part of the light gets split into the eyepiece, and part of it goes up into the camera. So there's a prism that splits some of it towards my eye and some of it up into the camera. And this new microscope doesn't actually have a splitter. I don't know why not. I guess that doesn't need one. But sometimes they come with a splitter that you can like chop down the light so it's not, some of it's not going up the camera stack. But maybe that's so bright it doesn't really matter. Would be my guess. So, but you get a different view from the dark field. I feel like there's some things you can really see well, especially the things with algae in them, with the bright greens, like these things. They look really appealing in this light. And the some of the organisms just aren't really visible. Like these little guys are really kind of hard to spot with dark field, unless they're right at the right elevation. So I'm trying to just focus using only the screen, which is actually a bit of a challenge for me because I'm used to looking through the binoculars. But most of what we see in our field of view right now is Cladophora, which is a green algae. And it's what the goldfish are primarily grazing on out in the pond. So this little guy right here, I'm going to switch back to bright field, to DAC, I mean. Watch your eyes. Let's see, I want to brighten that a bit. Then I'm going to zoom in on it. So this little thing with the 8 cells, I really do need to bring over some sort of a pointer that you can see that have little spines sticking off the ends. That's Senedesmus, which is another type of green algae. And the one that's next to it that's kind of being pushed around a little bit, that looks like a bunch of little tiny dots in a row, that's Anabena, I believe. Another type of, that's a cyanobacteria, not an algae. And then like this guy right here, that's a diatom. That's Gomphanema. I think it's Johnsoni. My koi pond turns out to be basically a monoculture for diatoms. It's almost always just one diatom type in there. Looks like there's another worm right here. It's not moving very much. Let's just look around a bit and see what we can find. Let's see, I need the bottom condenser, and that's why I was like, why is it not looking very good? That's why. Let's see. Now I need this to, there we go. Perfect. Let's see what else we can find hiding in here. There's a couple of rotifers. You can really see them attached and just munching away on something in the middle of that pile over there. There's two of them. There's also a little ciliate that's like hanging out in the middle of that pile. Just leave it there for a second. Let's see if one of these will work. Nope. That is not transparent. I don't think either of those are actually. Okay. What are the two big ones named? Those are rotifers. I don't actually know the name of the rotifer. Like, I don't know their genus or anything like that. They're the predatory type. They're out searching for food. You love having this content up while cleaning your workshop. Feel better. Well, I'm glad we can make you feel a little bit better. It's fun to just sort of poke around with what's living in my backyard. Oh, thank you, Clargana. Now would probably be a good time to point out that I really appreciate the subscriptions. They go to fund my student research, so I don't take any of the money from Twitch or my Redbubble site or any other thing that I do through streaming. All that money goes to support my students and my my research and my stream. So, but thank you very much for that subscription. I really appreciate it. My students appreciate it. The little, yeah, yeah. I do personally accept it, so it's great. Also, you got all those cool emotes now as well, so you can spam those all you like. Two Chooks is all over it. I don't speak whatever language that is, 6AXD. Is it Indian? Is that the... I don't speak that language, I'm sorry. I can't read it, and it won't translate for me, so I don't know what you wrote. There's another... There's a bunch of rotifers right here, actually. There's three of them right there, all next to each other, just hanging out. Oops, one of them's broke loose. So those are actually their little toes. Who was asking about that? Commander Shafard? Those are their little toes on the back end that they use to grab onto stuff with. It's like a foot. The toes are attached to a foot-like structure. There you go. Oops. Trying to keep them in the field of view. And then they have like 2 or 3 little toes that they use to grasp with. And then that's just their normal behavior, is to like hang on with the toes. Up here he comes back into our field of view. He's a ham. You can see it a little bit better for a couple of seconds there while he sits still. You can see it's split, and he can open and close them like scissors. I am a living scientist. I think you mean a life science scientist, but I'm also alive, it turns out. This microscope is brand new. It's a Leica DM2500, and it costs about $20,000. I don't recommend you buy this particular brand of microscope unless you're a research grade scientist, and then I do recommend it. If somebody else is paying for it, like a grant or or a university, and then the camera that's attached to it's another $900. So to get this setup would be a little pricey. Oh, it's Arabic. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know if I could learn Arabic. Yeah. The lifespan for rotifers is short. Yeah, that's true. Uh, yeah. And the males don't even eat. No. Yeah. In fact, most rotifers that we see are female, and they have parthenogenesis, so they will produce female eggs, and they'll produce many female eggs that are clones, and then when conditions are bad, when they dry out or they become stressed, they will switch and they will lay male eggs for a little while. If there's no male in the population, they just keep doing asexual reproduction. But the male eggs, they basically hang out in the sediment for a while, and then when conditions get good again, they'll hatch and they'll switch to sexual reproduction for a little bit. And the males, basically, as soon as they start having sex again, then the females will start laying. The new females will start laying. They'll go back to laying female eggs through parthenogenesis. So no sex at all, basically, during that phase. And this gorgeous little guy is a heliozoan. That's a ciliate right there. You can see the little hairs all the way around the outside of its body. So that's the cilia. And they use those for locomotion, and they also use them for creating small currents to bring the food into their mouths. Del, hey Del, thanks for the raid. How's your Sea of Thieves go? Did you get some pirate treasure? Did you take anything down? How's it going? Oh, you're a programmer? You want to learn biology? Well, one day I would like to learn programming a little bit better. Edward Scissortoes. That's a good name. It's an old reference. You're dating yourself a little talking about Edward Scissorhands. You took an extended power nap? That's good. Oh, you'd like to see red blood cells with a microscope? I can make it happen, but I'm not going to cut myself right now just to stick my blood on the screen for you. You were awesome. I'm sure you were awesome. Some pirates tried to pirate you, but then you pirated harder. Yeah, that's what you should do. Out pirate the pirates. We got a little heliozoan on here. It's just hanging out, so we're just sticking with it while it's hanging out. Let's see if I can make it go into dark field and still not cause it to move. That's bright field. That's bright field. That's dark field, and I need to pull this out and brighten this up for you. Oh, it's a little dark still. Let's see. I can fix it with my camera settings a little. We can zoom back in. See, the image quality is a little bit lower. Let's see. That could be in part the magnification. We're zoomed in pretty high, so it's pixelated a bit. And then I want it to be a little bit darker, but then we can't really see the ciliates very well. Kind of like the way it looked better in DIC. Sorry, screen's all bright white because I made adjustments. There we go. While I was tinkering around, another rotifer showed up. See its toes very clearly now, Shafard? It's got 3 toes. And it's probably attaching in part to the glass sometimes there. I'm gonna fix that a little bit. And then I'm gonna pop this back in so it looks sharp. Gotta make a lot of adjustments if I'm trying to jump between different modes. There you go. Ah, get back here. And you get a nice close-up view of it, but then it moves a little bit and it's out of our field of view. There we go. Your name is Hazza? Hazza! Let's see. What are some of the structures inside the Gilazoa? Well, they're little protozoans, so they're like fat vacuoles and Golgi bodies and all those other little like weird things that go on inside the nucleus. You know, cellular elements you probably learned about in high school that you're probably largely forgotten by this point, but that's what's in there. And they might also, because they're ciliates, they're probably predators, so they might have actually had some other lunch in there as well. Yeah, so the rotifer here, this is a Deloid Rotifer. Oh, it's got its corona out now. It's spinning its little corona. You can see see how everything's spinning as it's twirling the little hairs. And then that thing that's pumping on the inside there is the mastax. It's like its jaws. It's like internal jaws. And it's crunching everything that's coming in and stuffing it into its stomach. So I haven't heard the word Golgi since. I have a question. What is it that I see? Is it plant cells? I don't know what you see, but right now we're looking at a rotifer. It's a type of fauna. That's an animal, not a plant. But right next to it, there's some green blobs, and those are algae. And all around, there's sort of strings of stuff that's Cladophora for the most part. That little piece that's sticking off, which Dell usually calls a donger, is an antenna. That's what part of its sensory organs. So you can see it's really pumping stuff around in the water. Good. The name rotifer comes from the fact that it looks like they're spinning those cilia, but they're actually just doing this. They're actually just kind of wiggling them. They're not. It's not twirling like a drill. Although it makes the water do that, they're just spinning them around like this really quickly, and they look like they're They look like they're going like around in a circle, but it's because of the way it's vibrating and the light's passing through. Let's see. Do I have footage of brine shrimps? No, but if you want to see brine shrimps, you should check out Pacific Plankton. She streams on Monday and Wednesdays, and Quiglius, that's the mastax that you see pumping, not the heart. It's its jaw, basically. It's chomping. So its teeth are, its corona is the top part that spins, and it spins around the opening for its gape, for its mouth. And now it's put the spinning parts away, and it's just got its antenna out, and then it's actually pulling out the corona again. And between them is the sort of like a throat or a gape, and then it's passing basically directly through that into the mastax, which is like the jaws, basically. Yeah, like hair clippers, sort of, I guess. The hair clippers are like this, right? But these are more like they're just wiggling. I think they wiggle them mostly side to side. My camera is telling me that the battery's running low, but fear not, I have more batteries. So if it runs out, it'll just be black for a second. Yeah, the cilia are moving faster than the frame rate of my camera, and it gives them an illusion like they're spinning. They also appear to be spinning to your eye. So if you're actually looking at them in the microscope itself, they will still look like they're spinning. It's not just the camera that they move faster than. It's basically the way the light comes off of them, but they're just kind of going back and forth. Yeah, like jazz hands. That's one way to think of it. Uh, Doppio. This is a light microscope that we're looking at right now. We're just I'm zooming in pretty closely. I've got, let's see, that's 700 times magnification, but it's all optical zoom for the top uh, above 200. We're just making it magnified by getting closer to it, like if it were projecting it on a screen. But my camera's got really high resolution, so it also looks like it's sharp. And then normally I stream from a scanning electron microscope. So I have a lab with three of these things in them. One of them's at home right now, obviously. And then and I've got some other light microscopes in my lab as well. And then I've got a separate lab with a scanning electron microscope that I stream from on Wednesdays. And I think also it's going to be Mondays now. I think I'm going to be Monday, Wednesday streaming from the SEM. Saturdays are kind of cluttered at the moment, but it used to be Saturdays and Wednesdays for the longest time, and I'm thinking about shifting it to Monday for a little while. So let's see. Golgi is the person's name, 6AXD. So it's like a structure that somebody named Golgi. Yeah, it's like a organelle. So the induced swirl is amazing. Yeah, it's spinning pretty hard, right? It's got curb feelers. Actually, the antenna is more like a curb feeler, really, right? That's how it senses what's going on outside. It does. They do have eyes. Right. If I get it just the right height, you might see them. They're kind of red colored, and also they're like up around the below the corona. But it's probably my camera's probably a little bright for that. Maybe if I dim it, you can kind of see the little red. There's little red eye specks in there. Um, it's not at the right angle for us, but they're more like light sensors than, they're just to tell whether there's light or not, which way's up basically. For the most part, they're not very high quality eyes. So how much food do they consume compared to the body mass? They eat a lot. All filter feeders eat a lot of food. I don't know like the relationship to the body mass. I don't study rotifers actually, but I do know that things like Cladocera, so the sorry, Daphnia and Bosmina and those sorts of things. The entire population of those in a lake can filter all of the water, like filter through all of the water in an entire lake system, usually in about 4 days. So some of that also gets consumed by things like rotifers, but the filter feeding organisms basically just go nuts, and they can clean up the water pretty fast. So yeah, it spins them like they're like little vacuum cleaner brushes, right? But then it creates a current, and then the water just gets funneled into their mouth. So that's basically they're creating a little current to pull it towards their mouth. You have a very basic microscope at home? Well, I have another microscope over there in the corner that I don't stream from. That's an old microscope. But it also has DIC light, and it's I don't know, like 60 years old, so something like that. It's a little bit older than this one, but that one I own, and this one actually I'm borrowing from my lab. So I don't have a $20,000 microscope at home for my own sake. I don't have that kind of money. And if I did, I probably wouldn't spend it on a microscope. I don't recommend you do that. But the Leica rep was in my lab, and I was showing him that I was streaming stuff from these microscopes and how I do it. And I told him I often get people asking me about you're watching the battery life indicator. It's a little distracting. I'm sorry. It'll keep beeping like that for a while. Eventually, it'll just go black, and I'll put a new battery in. But he had some lower end Leica microscopes that people use sometimes. I'm just gonna leave that little rotifer alone for a second. I got distracted because behind it over here are diatoms. Those aren't being carried by the current. They're actually crawling around. So those are diatoms. If you're asking what's a diatom, and they often end up as food for things like rotifers. So if they're not careful, they could end up inside that thing. These ones are crawling. They're actually attached to the cover slip, I think. You can see them kind of moving around clearly. Oh, it's another rotifer. Now we've got two of them. They're hanging out side by side. Now I gotta zoom out. Another one showed up. The sisters are hungry. They found a good feeding spot, and everybody's there now. Yeah, that one's crawling off. Yeah. And this one's like, well, if you're here, I'm just gonna camp for a minute. So, would it be able to combat green algae outbreaks in labs? Probably, or in lakes? Probably not. I mean, some of these things can eat green algae and can pack away a lot of it. But that Senedesmus that we saw earlier, I don't know if you were here for that fragged, but there's Senedesmus that show up in my koi pond, and then it's they're just hanging out now and give each other a little kiss. It just takes over my koi pond, but I have a filter, and the filter will pull it out of the water column, and then I can scrape my filter, and it'll be full of Senedesmus. So probably there's not enough of them to handle those sort of outbreaks. The nutrients get really bad in some conditions. In an average lake, they probably could handle it, but sorry, hang on. My my Spotify in the background started playing Morrissey, and I hate Morrissey so much. I like the Smiths, but I just hate Morrissey when he's by himself for some reason. So I had to change it. Sorry to any Morrissey fans out there. Songwriting's good. For some reason I can't stand him. So let's see. I'm gonna miss stuff because let's see. Yeah. These are a good sign if you have a bunch of these for water quality. They might get choked out in really bad settings, but Senedesmus are usually a bad sign. And they're not toxic though. Senedesmus is just a regular old algae, green algae. And Anabaena, which is also in here, usually are nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. So we did see some of that. And Cladophora is also another type of green algae. That's actually what the rotifers attached to. And that's a little chlorella, which is a green algae that just flew past the rotifer's mouth right there. I think that's a chlorella. Oh, wait. Maybe it's a flagellate. I think it's actually a flagellate. It's crawling around. And I bumped a stage and the rotifer decided it wanted to hide for a little bit. But you can see the antennas sticking out. It's thinking about coming back out. It's a rotifer, Mr. Blade. They're a type of microscopic animal. Diatom. Yeah. It's extra 3D because I got the DIC on and I've got the relief cranked all the way up so you can kind of see it in 3 dimensions. It's not a tart that you see in there. That's the mastax. That's its jaw. It's feeding. So let's see. Yeah, the battery's, it's been flashing for a while. It just stays that way. Yeah, he's eating. That's him eating. He's got some sort of haptophyte trapped in the current, and he can't get out. There's a bunch of them now that are stuck there. It's a little flagellate. You can see it also has a flagella. That's how it's moving around. The little round guys. They're not strong enough to get out of the current though, so they're just stuck there going around like crazy. Hilarious. Sometimes they'll, you can see if it stops, then they can escape. Sometimes it'll be like a big diatom or something, and the current will cause it to keep smacking the rotifer in the face, which just cracks me up. They look like little balloons, though, right? That's definitely a flagellated algae of some type. So, yeah. Do they shit? Yes, they do. Everything that eats poops. So I don't have it focused on the poop end right now. We're on the head end, but why are they green? Because they've been eating algae for the most part. So everything poops except for like the worms that live in hot in like the hydrothermal vents. Those worms don't eat and they don't poop. They have a relationship with chemosynthetic organisms that they just have them inside their bodies and they get their food from that, and then they don't poop at all. So not everything poops. Just as we'll put one little asterisk on there. Almost everything poops. It's got them spinning pretty good. Yeah. It's an endosymbiotic relationship. Actually, it's not endosymbiotic. It's not inside the cells. It's inside their body. But it's a symbiotic relationship. When they first colonize an area, they're not inside of them. They pick them up from the environment, and then I don't know how. I guess they get in through the gills, and then they have a mid gut like structure that basically just stores them. It doesn't have any digestive power or stomach or anything. And they're those type of worms. They don't have a stomach at all. They don't eat. They just get their food from the chemosynthetic bacteria, and the 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 bacteria like doing that. They like living there because it gives them a nice, safe home. So, hoping they can get dizzy. Yeah, they spin them around and then like come out of there all. I don't know if they have a balance, any kind of a balance. They probably don't feel it, or certainly not as much as we would at that scale. There's one in the background as well. You can see its little flagellas kicking around right there. Now it's stuck. Now it's in the current. Yeah, if you're interested, Clay, if you're interested in microscope streamers, I've been doing this for about 8 months now. And I've got a whole group of friends who also stream from the microscope. Here they are. Pacific Plankton and Del Maximum, who was here earlier, rated us. And OpenSet are on regularly in the evenings. And I have a professor's voice. Well, I'm a professor. That's my job. So I guess I found the right profession. But Spider ID looks at spiders on a stereoscope. In the mornings usually. He's Swedish, so he's only on in the earlier part of the day. He often brings his people in after his stream into my SEM streams, which I do in the afternoon. I need to make some people moderators. I mean, I have a ton of moderators. You know, actually, I'm kind of confused why Pandemic Watch isn't at least a VIP. I'm gonna fix that right now. Right meow. Oops. There you go. It should have happened a long time ago. Hopefully I got the right one. You don't want to see spiders? Well, let's see. Pacific Plankton does a lot of the same sort of stuff. She looks at, somebody was asking about brine shrimp earlier. She looks at brine shrimp. You're watching from Sweden right now? That's like really early in the morning for you, isn't it? You're up late, or it's very early, one or the other. Welcome in, Muma Rolf. Clay, have I ever looked at clay? Absolutely. Not on stream, but we have looked at clay on the SEM quite a bit. And we also, I'm a geologist by trade, so by training anyway. And so I've looked at a lot of clay in the light microscope. What are we watching? This is a shaman. This is a rotifer. It's a type of organism, microscopic organism in the lake, and it's about let's see, 200 times 3, 600, 2/3 of 6. It's about 400 times magnification that we're looking at. So it's really small. And those little things that keep getting yanked into the current from it are some kind of algae with a flagella on the two flagella, actually. I can see two of them. Do I ever wonder what the clay is thinking? No. Do I ever wonder what the rotifers think? Not usually. I sometimes wonder what diatoms are thinking. Because I need to think about things as if I were a diatom sometimes to figure out, oh, yanked in a bunch of junk by accident. Anyway, 4:37 in the morning. Okay, you're up late. Commander Shafard, how often do I find tardigrades? Whenever I look for them, actually, right now. You want me to get some? I can put some tardigrades on if you'd like. It might take me a little bit to find them. I can definitely dig them out. Yeah, nothing on the SEM is usually thinking very much. We've been focused on this young lady for a while here. She's just been hanging out, chomping away at stuff. Let's go see if we can find some other things. So here's some of those little green algae swimming around. Let's go back out. I saw some ciliates earlier. I think I just wanted to go check out some other organisms while we're here. These are the other type of rotifer that we've seen in the sample. These guys right here are like tadpole shaped or something, but they're actually rotifers. Where's your best chance to find them? Yeah, it's been flashing like that for a while, Clay. Don't worry about it. Your best chance to find rotifers, give me a second and I'll show you exactly what you should look for. 1 second. All right. So, put my headphones back on. Let's see. You can see that? Yeah, I think you can see that. This is just a stick, and it's got some lichen right here. And in fact, all the way up and down the stick are lichen. So it's this bright green and white colors that you see in here. And what I normally do is find an old stick that's fallen off of a tree. And I feel like that's actually the best approach to finding a water bear. You find something that's got a lot of lichen like this. And then what I normally do is I just take a paring knife and I scrape it on the face of the stick where the lichen is. And I just scrape all the lichen into a little bowl like this. And then I put some pure water in. So you don't want to use tap water. Your tap water probably has chlorination in it, and it'll kill things. That's what it's supposed to do. And so you want to use like distilled water. In my house, we actually have raw pure water because my father-in-law is like he just buys us crazy things all the time for good clean water. And our ice cubes, we have actually raw pure water, which is reverse osmosis purified water. That's also good for our fish tank. So, just old sticks that have fallen off of trees that are covered with lichen. And this is where I always find them. I'm like 100% on sticks that fall off of trees. Scrape them into a little bowl. One of the things I would say is it's always a hunt. You have to look for a while. You won't find them right away. Like the first thing you look at's not going to have a water bear in it. You need to look through probably a couple of... The entire field of view might produce one or two. Like everything on the slide, if you filled up the whole slide with material. So let's see. You'd somehow miss that I'm a paleoecologist. Oh, cool. People get confused because I know a lot about biology and especially ecology. And then they think they can ask me questions about DNAs and cells and, the soft parts of organisms. And I'm usually like, I mostly just look at the fossils. But these things I know a little bit about because they're pond organisms, and I teach classes on lakes and lake organisms, and algae are my thing. So, hey, Jay, how's it going? I doing a little night stream for once. So I haven't been on Twitch at night for like, I don't know, 2 months now or something. Just been too busy. But I got this new microscope, and I traded it out with my old microscope, so that the kids in the lab have two microscopes now, and in the summer we'll have three. Oh, Rotifers come back. It's just attached itself, just a little ham, just to put itself right in our field of view. And this one's kind of cool. It's got a dark field. I was flipping over to show off the dark field a little bit earlier. Oops. There's a dark fields option, so I look a little bit more like Pacific Plankton stream. She usually streams in dark field. And when you're looking at things at low resolution, like 10 and 20x, dark field looks pretty good. I guess I need to make that a little bit brighter. And then you can see everything kind of crawling around in there. And then I think I can still zoom in digitally, at least. So if you're interested in seeing the rotifer in the dark field, we can do that. There you go. It doesn't have the same high quality resolution. It does a little bit of, because it's bending the light, the image quality is not quite as sharp as the DIC, but the background's nice and pretty this way. But let's see, I'm going to hop back over to bright field, and then I'm going to put this on DIC, which is actually my preferred view type. And then we'll pop out, let it adjust the camera. See how long that battery's been flashing? I just can totally ignore it. I'm like, yeah, I know. It starts flashing at like 30% or something. So it's got, I could change that setting, I suppose. Let's see. Hey, Lex, how's it going? They have rotifer kits that you can grow at home in a 2-liter bottle for a couple of bucks. Yeah, you can probably get rotifers from the same thing that water bear stick that I had. We'll also have a bunch of Deloid rotifers. Or you could go out to any moss in your yard, and pretty much any moss you have in your yard or around trees, around the bottom of trees, it'll have rotifers in it. They'll be like these ones. The Deloid rotifers are pretty common. Do these rotifers have predators? Yes. Everything that has a mouth that's as big as that organism will eat it. So fish will eat them. Ones that graze on the algae, they're also grazing on these zooplankton and the rotifers. If they can get access to them, and their mouths are big enough, they'll eat them. So baby fish, for example, or insects will eat them. So juvenile insects. What zoom would you need to see a water bear? Very low power. 10x, 5x, 10x, 4x, something in that range. You won't need more than 20x. So for the objective, and then the eyepiece is another 10. So that's like ranging between 50 and 200 times magnification. You don't need anything bigger than that. You're just overdoing it at that part. You're zoomed in on parts of the water bear at that scale. So, if you wanted to zoom in and look at the little newt mouth on the front of it, you could. But I don't think that that's required in any way. There's a whole bunch of diatoms right there. And there's one of these little heliozoans that we were looking at earlier. Right here, I think. Actually, I'm not sure that's what that is. Let's see. I'm going to make some adjustments. I always forget to put the bottom condenser back in. And then let's see. I need to make some other adjustments. There we go. Let's see if I can find that thing again. That's a little round guy right there. It's kind of crawling right into our field of view. Oh, yeah. Yep, it's a heliozoan. You see, a little cilia are all the way around the outside of its body, and they're circular. That's usually a clue that you're looking at a helizoan. And you can see it's got a bunch of fat cells and other things on the inside of its body. And it looks like it's got some bacteria in there too, so this one might not be doing very well. And then these little things that you can see crawling around are actually diatoms. So right here in the background, all these little green things that are little canoe-shaped things that are crawling around, those are all diatoms. And that's a little cryptophyte right there. It's spinning around. It looks like a flea or something in body shape. And then you can see this thing is slowly cruising. It's Ciliate. And then I think there was a bunch of diatoms in a colony over here somewhere. Yeah, there they are. There's a diatom crawling around. That's a Gomphonema. It's broken free from its stalk and it's looking for a new place to set up camp. Does my knowledge about microorganisms ever give you anxiety? No, not at all. There's things that are invisible and generally out of sight, out of mind, and yeah, they don't cause me any anxiety whatsoever. You know, they're cute, and most of them are clones of things, so they don't really bother me. You know, that I don't have the sort of like concern for them getting in my body or anything like. They're not dangerous. But here's the way they normally live. These are the same thing that we saw crawling around. That's Gomphonema. All these little guys are living in a cluster together. They're attached by a stalk. You can see right there, like a tree has sort of like a trunk. But those are EPS trunks. They're made out of exudates that come out of one. And well, finally lost the batteries. Give me a second. Didn't like that. Huh? It wants me to use an Olympus battery. It always tells me that for some reason. I don't know why. My camera's an Olympus, so I guess they're just trying to sell me stuff. Oh, there's a big old rotifer. That one's a really big one. She's full-sized. All right. Let's see. Paleontology, half rock, half bio. Yeah, that's me. Fossils as in diatomaceous earth. Yes, there are diatoms in diatomaceous earth, and those diatoms that you see crawling around are similar to the kinds that you would find in diatomaceous earth. I am not a biologist. I am an ecologist, but only in the paleoecology. So you can see this one actually, you can see its eyes. These red dots that are about halfway down the body are its eyes. You like dark field? Kind of like see the internal things better? Yeah, some things you can see better in dark field, some things you can see better in DIC. The image resolution for me is the thing that kind of drives me nuts about dark field. Is it's just it's made with diffracted light, so or refracted light, so it just doesn't look as sharp to me. And I'm a focus wonk, so having things that are in focus is most important to me. This one you can see its eyes. Let's see if we can get zoomed in on that. Right where the eyes are. See those dark red spots right there? Right there, it's like two little dark red spots right in the middle of the screen, below the corona. Those are eye spots. And they have, I think, way more than just two. So, do they breed? Rotifers do not breed. Diatoms breed. Well, rotifers can breed. Let me rephrase that. But just occasionally. And diatoms are the same way. They only breed occasionally. They usually go through asexual cycles mostly. Could we look at blood? Yeah, we could. I don't have any blood that I want to stick on there. I don't want to cut myself or anything right now. Um, yeah, we need these little bugs in many cases. So you could almost see them with the magnifying glass, I think, or a hand lens. You should be able to see a water bear with a hand lens. If you, oh, I got two of them now. If you have a really nice one, I would recommend a stereoscope. A low-powered stereoscope, 50 times is probably good enough to see most of them. What are the little floating circles? Those are flagellate algae. They've got two little flagella on the outside end that helio, because it's like sun, exactly. So the round guy that we saw with the hairs all the way around it, that wasn't floating, that was hanging out, that's a heliozoan. Helio is like sun. That's sort of how you know they're round shaped like that, and the cilia all the way around. Do the diatoms attack? No, diatoms don't attack anything. That's my name is purely ironic. Although I've had some people freak out. They're like, thinking that diatoms actually attack people. They're totally harmless. So, mostly harmless, I should say. Yep. Afraid of Me 42, you do not need to spend a lot of money to get a decent microscope. If you're not doing research on a microscope, you don't need to spend you know a lot of money for like $1,000. If you're spending $1,000 on a microscope, you're looking at the top end of what you need to get, unless you're doing research and you want to film it for some reason. You're taking pictures for publication. The main difference between this scope and one of those is that this has DIC light, which is what we're using right now. A typical microscope that you get that you buy that's like $200 or less is perfectly acceptable for low end magnifications for things like water bears and rotifers, and even what we're looking at now, you would be able to see just fine in one of those. The optics wouldn't be quite as fancy as these. It wouldn't look quite as 3D as we do in our DIC lighting. Things would be a little lower quality with respect to the appearance, but I don't think that you would notice. And if you're buying it mostly because you're interested in seeing stuff, you'll be fine. You don't need to break your bank getting DIC imaging. A nice $100 or $1,000 microscope, if you wanted to spend that much money, is the Zeiss Prima Star, and then there's a Leica version that's kind of like that. The Leica guy was going to give me some sort of flyer for those, so I could kind of like hand out information for it if they were interested. But he hasn't given me that yet. I don't remember what the name of them are. They just have numbers, and I think 500 and a 700 at the end. I don't remember what the model names are, but if you're really interested in buying a microscope and you want to just kind of chat about it, you can always just hop into my Discord or Pacific Plankton, and she has a channel, a separate channel for talking about microscopes. So if you're interested in that, you can always check out there. Yeah, like a B movie, exactly. That's my goal, Quiglius, exactly. Let's see. Yeah, they're mostly women. The rotifers are mostly women. Diatoms are asexual for the most part. Do they ever fight? They eat each other if they're capable of doing it, but they don't actually, like fist fight? No. Obviously, they can't. They don't have arms. How are they going to fight? But they will try to eat each other. So you do see that sometimes, if it's one of them's big enough to fit in the other's mouth. The rotifer pulled in a short rod and made it recoil. Is it using it as a tool? Probably not tool using. What's a little guy rotating around its head? I don't know. Sorry, I wasn't reading it in time when they were actually asking the question, so it's probably a little flagellated algae would be my guess, or it could be a cryptophyte. Hey Del, welcome back. Mama Bonbon, hi. It only partly capped. I don't know. Yeah, you could try it out on water bears. I'm sure you could see it, Nick Bering. I don't think you'd have any trouble seeing them with a microscope of any type, a USB one or whatever. Oh, I don't know if it was using it to fish. That'd be pretty crazy. His little tail is cute. There's a lot of predators in this environment. I don't know if there's an apex predator. This little guy right here is actually a predator. That rotifer, he's actually a predator. You know, like if you're thinking about, I guess it depends on what you consider the environment to be, but like fish will eat these, so all the way up through the food chain to fish are probably your apex predators. Also, aquatic insects will eat these kinds of things. They're big enough to do that when they get larger. So, all the jetsam. Well, the jetsam in this field is mostly algae. There's diatoms, and that's mostly cladophora, and there's a bunch of little algae growing on the cladophora. And then those cryptophytes that are flying around. We saw some actual paramecium earlier, and there's all these diatoms that are hanging out attached to stuff here. They look like little boats. Let me see if I can find one of those. Oh, here's a rotifer, or no, sorry, nematode worm. There's a little nematode worm. That's an air bubble that he's up against. I don't have any copepods in my koi pond that I know of. They have not colonized the pond. The rotifers I've seen before in there, and these nematodes, they also were predators. And I've seen those in there. And then the diatoms are, bottom of the food web. And all the algae. And the bacteria are probably being consumed, but then also break down things. And then that's a diatom crawling around right there. There's these ciliates, which are in here. And ciliates are probably, some of them are predators. Amoeba. We've seen some amoeba. I haven't seen any tonight. I have seen some amoeba in here that are predators as well. You can see its little cilia just barely present around the outside edge. Right there. See him swirling? I think this thing is like Strombidium or something like that. I don't remember the name of the genus, but really pretty little cilia that are like waving around the margin of it. Yeah, it's a pretty cool little guy. You can see that like doing the wave around the outside edge there, like each of the little hairs. You gotta get it right at the right height in order to see the cilia. They're not showing up very well now. Let's see. Found some other really cool ciliates in here somewhere. This is another giant rotifer. Fishing around for food. It's another one. When the water gets a little warmer, they all start kind of moving around. The diatoms really start crawling everywhere. That's a big old rotifer. Oh, there's another cool little ciliate. Let's see if we can get zoomed in on that so you can see it. There you go. It's a different type. Oh, he's spinning around like crazy. I didn't like the company that the other guy was coming to visit him. I was not a fan of that other guy. Some of them are pretty mesmerizing. Yeah, I get a really nice view. This is my brand new scope. It's got different objectives than the one I took back to school today. A little thing with 4 cells that's down at the bottom that are bright green. That's a Senedesmus. It's a type of green algae. Oops, went the wrong way. Now it's in the middle. They either have colonies with 2 cells, 4 cells, or 8 cells. And then after that, they'll break the colony up when they replicate. They usually make adjustments to the length of the cell based on whether or not there are fish in the pond. And if you're asking yourself, how does it know if there's fish in the pond? Well, when organisms get eaten, there's like a lysing of cells that happens. And if a bunch of that material ends up in the water, they can detect it chemically. And they'll make their colonies bigger if there's fish present than if there aren't any fish present. So they're kind of cool. There are fish present in my koi pond, and so they're probably trying to make 8 colony cells, but they may not have been eating much yet. So I've only seen 4 and 8 cells so far. I haven't seen any 2-celled versions of the Senedesmus. And then they have little spines on the outside edges, which are actually they float with their spines. They have like gas vesicles in them. And all last week on the SEM, we were looking at pollen. That there is pine pollen that we're looking at. That's just from a pine tree that's blown in. The pine pollen is very capable of being distributed by the wind. So, am I teaching virtual or do I have students back in the classroom? I am entirely teaching face-to-face, and I have been teaching face-to-face since the fall. I have been in classrooms teaching fearlessly now because I am completely vaccinated. So we are only doing face-to-face. But I started streaming in August in response to basically being stuck at home. And in part, we didn't have a lot we could do. So we brought the microscopes home, and then I was like, oh, I could try to do some streaming from home. I also did some SEM streaming from through the same time frame. And see, this is the air bubble drying up on the outside of edge here. There's a Senedesmus and a little nematode worm. And there's a little Gliotrichia. We haven't seen any of these yet tonight, so that's a nice addition. Let's see if I can get him in a field of view before he disappears. Yeah. Oh, not Gliotrichia. That's Gastrotrich. Yeah, Gastrotrich. Sorry, Gliotrichia is a type of cyanobacteria. Gastrotrich means hairy belly. Yeah. It's like a little slug kind of thing. Yeah, that tree thing is pretty cool. Also, thanks for sending out the squad announcement, Del. I tried to do that a little earlier as well. So, they're smelling not the fish, but the chemical breakdown of what the fish are eating. So, but yeah, they can smell other organisms being eaten by the fish, and they will make an adjustment. Like, oh no, there's fish in the water that are eating things, and they'll make themselves bigger to try to avoid it. Hey, Dangling, how are you doing? We're up looking at pond creatures. Got this gastritrick hanging out. I'm trying to catch up with Chad a little bit. I've been chasing this thing. Doesn't want to sit still. What happened there with Clay? There was some sort of spam going on that I missed. Good siblings just went home, so I got some family time. Oh, that's nice. I'm doing well. Uh, we had to give Sylvia a COVID test earlier this week, and because she's got sick, but it's just actually a cold. We came back negative from it, but probably she's going to give it to all of us because she's all over everything in the house. So, you know, keyboards, all the furniture. I don't usually get sick, but like the whole family will get sick and then I won't usually, but you never know. Can't get the COVID though. Can still get a cold. We saw a giant worm in here earlier, Del. I think it was before you were in the channel. It's probably somewhere over here in the middle of all this Cladophora mess. Hiding under this pile of junk. Pretty soon everything's going to be starting to work its way towards this pile of junk, though, because it's air bubbles creeping in from every side. And maybe I should hydrate some of these water bear samples I have. I'm going to have a look around and see if I can find any of them. Oh, there's the worm. It's a big one. There's a big boy. Oh, I got auto mod. Sorry about that. It just has a mind of its own. I don't get scared. I'm not bothered by it because I can't get COVID. So it's not that they avoid air bubbles. Press OK. It's the air bubble. It's the water's evaporating under the heat of the microscope light. And so it slowly closes in on them. And as the water evaporates, they want to stay in the water. So they will stay in the middle of the slide because the air bubbles are creeping in from all the sides, basically. Yeah. Sometimes they get stuck on them too, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a nematode or what it is. It's a really big worm. It's way too big for like a typical nematode, at least. We've seen a bunch of normal nematodes running around. I guess it could be a nematode. I'm not a worm expert, so could be anything. I thought that was maybe a naiad worm, but I don't see the little hairs they usually have, so it probably is a nematode. Just a big one. Sorry, can't be an expert at everything. You want to be impressed, throw some diatoms on there and I will tell you what they are to genus and sometimes to species. But worms? Not my thing. Are any organisms in this sample that are parasitic to other organisms? Yeah, but we probably can't see most of them. There are probably bacteria in here that are parasitic. They're present, but they're very small. We probably could see them if I jump up the magnification, but I wouldn't be able to identify them. There's some little stuff in there spinning around. Very small scale in the background. See those little things back there in the middle that are spinning around? Some of those could be at the bacteria size. The worms come out. Here. All right, let me go put some water in the water bear sample. Hydrate them a little. I'm gonna leave you with this for a second. So I've been taking water bear samples for like, I don't know, 8 months now. And I just put them in all in the same thing instead of throwing out instead of throwing them away, I'll just put them in this little container. So I've got like a little water bear farm here. It's just filled with lichen from sticks and things. I suppose I could also shave some off of an actual stick. I still have a bunch of sticks laying around, but I can also release them. So I'm making like a farm here by accident. But I was sort of curious if we did this, if we could sort of get some of them to come back to life, as water bears usually do. And I've done it before, and it's worked pretty well. So we'll just pull this off for now. We'll switch it over to one of these samples. I'm not going to put a cover slip on them. The water bears are big enough. I mean, they're small enough that the cover slip would probably fit on them without any trouble. But if I put a cover slip on, then I can't get the material back out easily. So I'm going to hop the magnification up to a lower level. And then these samples we'll have to look through a little bit, see if we can find anything. It might actually take us a while if we are truly looking for water bears. Because I just put the water in. So if they're in there, they've got to rehydrate first. And then we'll see them crawling around. So it might take a little bit for that to happen. There's a ciliate already moving around. I put the water in like 30 seconds ago. Ciliates are already like, yeah, whatever. Come right back to life. Went from dry to hanging out. All right. Things you point out just by exploring. How did I learn about most of them? Did someone knowledgeable show me, or did I look them up at some point? I teach classes on... Something's really excited in there. I don't know where that went. It just got it really excited. Let's see if I put it on the lowest magnification, what that does. Here it is. All right, settle down. I teach class on lakes and wetlands. Oh, it's a worm. It's a very unhappy worm. Or maybe it's very happy it's hydrating. That is a chironomid right there. That's a chironomid. It's a non-barding midge larva. It's a chironomid larva. And they are not usually that spazzy. Yeah. Can't keep up with it. It's just like... This is going crazy. So I read a lot about stuff, and then also I just do a lot of exploring and look stuff up in books. I most of the stuff that I'm talking about are things that I've read about or on the internet or I read in books, or I have books on limnology and limnological organisms. So for lecturing, I kind of need to know that stuff. uh, and do I have a favorite microbe species? Well, I like diatoms, so lots of diatoms that I like. Um, it looks like it has rabies. He's just vibing, yeah. He's a little excited. After 3 coffees. Exactly. It's had a little bit too much to drink, I think. Maybe it needs to back off the coffee a little. Oh, there he is. It's very, very excitable. I think just settle down now. It's eating. Stop to take a little snack right there. Maybe it's just very hungry. I don't know. It's hard to keep up with. I consider myself pretty good at tracking things in the microscope, but this is a little insane. That's a little... That guy's going nuts. There he is. Get a good look at his little head capsule. So that is the larval form of a chironomid. He's just got little legs on the back end and little hairs on the back end, and then otherwise it's just segmented worm parts. This will, if it were to live to full size, would turn into a flying insect, like a mosquito, but one that doesn't bite. Or it doesn't bite people anyway. I mean, it eats things, obviously, but not people. Oh boy. Frames per second is higher than my camera can handle, which is crazy. Devil and Mrs. J with the raid. Hi, Devil and Mrs. J. Thank you for the raid. I haven't seen you streaming much recently, so I'm sort of excited to see you here. And thank you for the raid, and thanks, Del, for handling that shout out. we're watching a spazzy chironomid worm that I rehydrated about 2 minutes ago. So yeah, a midge larvae. It's just going crazy. So you should check out Devil and Mrs. J. She usually does a bit of gaming, and she's does a bunch of crafting. So for a long time, I just saw her crafting streams, and she hangs out in my channels a lot. So you should check her out. She's does cool pixel art. Just going nuts still. It's almost more entertaining than anything else we could have found, right? This thing is just like out of control. It's just stuffing everything it can in its mouth and wiggling around like crazy. I don't know if it's excited because there's so much food, or it hasn't been rehydrated in a long time and it's just hungry, or what. But I feel like I need to put one of those flashing light warnings on this stream. Thing is just nuts. Uh, uh, it's just celebrating. It could be. It's excited. Oh, you clipped it. Great, Pandemic. I want to take a look at it later. Yeah, sorry. If you have a flashing light problem, you might want to cover your eyes for this part. That chironomid is just crazy. All right. I put this on to look for water bears, not to be mesmerized by dancing worm insect larva. Anybody in its neighborhood is probably like, this guy. Let's go see what we can find. Something tells me that guy's going to chase around the light a little bit or something. So, for water bears, for anybody out there who's hunting water bears, these are samples that I got from lichens that we scraped from a stick, a bunch of different sticks at this point, and I scrape all of the lichen off, and then I only use a little bit of it. So there's some material from the slides after I finish with them, and then also some parts that we've never even looked through, which is probably where that chironomid came from. And when the water bears rehydrate from their tune state, usually it's relatively quick, within a few minutes. So we might actually see one of them rehydrating. I've seen it happen. I'm usually not fast enough to get it on to stream in time. I'm usually not like capable of getting the stream going. I see it and I go, oh, this would look cool for like how to start a stream, but I usually can't get everything organized quickly enough before they're already kicking. But it's like somebody inflated a mattress or a sleeping bag, basically. They just slowly sort of pump up and fill out, and then you'll see their legs start twitching, and then suddenly they're basically back to life. So you can usually pick them out in samples like this if you're looking for them, and they're awake. Like if you've given them enough time to rehydrate, as there'll be a bunch of junk moving around because they climb around on stuff, and you'll see the junk move probably before you see the actual water bear, because they're usually on the backside of something. In a transmitted light microscope like this, you wouldn't. There's the chironomids still here. I think that was another one. It looked a little smaller. Yep, it was another one. This one's spazzed out, but that one is chilled out. Let's go back to that one and see what it's doing. There's another chironomid. Oh, that's a worm. A dead worm. But there's another chironomid that was up here that was kind of chill. There it is. That one's not all spazzed out. Oh, now they're both here. It's like, oh, you're gonna dance, I'm gonna dance. Now we got a mosh pit going on. Got two of them going. Sorry. It's highly entertaining. So my mouse sometimes freezes up when I have the capture card going. Did you see the Nauplius meme Lexi made? I did not. Is it on your Discord? What magnification? We were looking at 50 times, and now we're looking at 100 times. This is a 10x objective. This Chronomid's like, I'm gonna let you look for tardigrades, but first let me come in here and dance. Some PvP. I think we're gonna see a breakdancing dance contest is more likely. They're like, hey, there's light. Somebody turned on a light over here. Chronomid. It's just as spazzed out as it could be. Alright, let's see what else we can find. Let's see if I can get the Chronomid to screw everything up by swimming over here as well. Here's the little one that's not quite as spazzy. Oh, it's like, the light, it burns! I don't know what that is. Amoeba or something. Oh, here comes the Chironomid. That little thing right there, that's in the center, that's round, is, I think, an Arcella. The amoeba's hiding out inside of its test. Those are pretty common in lichens. I find them regularly there. Another type of organism that can handle being dehydrated. Can't believe I've got two chironomids in this one pipetting that I did. I don't think I've seen one of those for so long. There's a little Ciliate. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Got a little too close with the objective. Now the Chironomid's back. Screwed everything up. It definitely is a ham. That's all I can say about that. It just wants to be in the center of the light at all times. Anything else in the sample look like it's just positively glacial by comparison. Just be like crawling around at tiny scale. I mean, I think I probably have to change samples because I think even if we find a water bear, it's just going to get, that thing's going to come flying in and dancing its way into our field of view. Yep. I don't think we can escape it. I think it just wants to be in the light. It's very excited about light, apparently. Ugh. Seriously? Yeah, I don't know that we'll be able to even find anything because every time I get like something in my field of view, the worm shows up. Comes spinning through like a helicopter. Thank you for the follow, 2gex. Actually, I saw there was a bunch of follows that I haven't recognized. I should make a note of. I need to come back and look at these. Silent Storm, thank you for follow. Smooch, Kablooey, that's a good name. Thick Crust, Fifth Instar, Press OK, J Lion C, Gold Medusa, Pongmeister, Dinghang, Janky Goat Smuggler, Boulder Shark, Safokoi, and Sloth O, and Geek Star. There's so many people that came through. Jelkson, Pictures Up, Green Raven, Clay's Food, Likely Licious, Likey Licious, Fragged First, John Fox, 6AXD, and Satika, and Squirrel Team 6. What a great name. Bucephalo, something like that. I want to thank all those people for following us. That's a lot for one day. Let me see. I'm going to switch out this slide for another one, and we'll just try and see if we can find one without a chironomid dancing on it the whole time. It's entertaining, but it also is making it difficult for us to see anything. So, and then I think maybe we'll stop after this next slide. So if we don't find anything exciting like a water bear, next time we will. I promise. I'll spend a little bit of time streaming, looking just for water bears one of these nights. I've got a little more time now. The semester's starting to come to a close, and so I can do a little bit more night streaming. And then this summer, I'll probably do a lot more day streaming from the light microscope. See if we can get a chironomid-free sample. One that doesn't have something dancing through it the whole time. Let's see. Got everything the way I want, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Thanks, Pandemic. It's nice to be able to get in on the light microscope a little bit. I know I've just been doing a lot of SEM stuff because I can schedule that time to be on the SEM at school, and I can do some research. And sometimes we're just sort of playing around looking at things like pollen, but it's also nice to sort of get back to some living things to take a look at now and then. I know people like to see things wiggle. Maybe not quite so much as the chironomid larva, but it's kind of nice to be able to look at living stuff every once in a while. I have quite the same detail as the SEM, but a little bit more entertainment value. You see them in their living condition. It's funny when I'm actually scanning slides. I never go up and down. In fact, I would never go up and down if I were like actually trying to analyze a slide. But when I stream, I always go up and down for some reason. Some sort of weird. My pattern hunting is different. Very different. than my normal process when I stream. See if we can get away without having a plague of chironomids dancing through our samples. If we found a water bear, which is, like I said, it's totally possible we will. Usually when they're in their dehydrated state and they're hydrating, they just look like this pink blob right there. They kind of look like that. Not super exciting. So it takes them a while to kind of come around. You're gonna challenge the worm to a dance off. You might win. 2 Gex, this is a great stream. I'm glad I found your channel. Another great way to procrastinate. Yeah. It's also great for me for procrastinating from my work. I have some writing I should be doing, but I'm not going to start working at 9 o'clock at night, so this is okay. Hopefully, looking for water bears and looking at ciliates and rotifers and worms and chironomids and diatoms and all kinds of algae is fun for you guys. And as Del mentioned, if it's something you enjoy, you could check out Del Maximum, who streams regularly from his light microscope and does a bit of gaming as well. And Pacific Plankton and OpenSet, all my buddies that stream from their microscopes on Twitch. It's always we all do things a little bit differently. Mine's mostly from the SEM, but I sometimes like to come on and do a little late night light microscope work. Nothing's moving in these samples. It's kind of scary. So this thing right here, this bright orange thing, that's the cysted form of a rotifer. If we wait long enough, it'll probably hydrate and then start moving around. It takes them a little while to recover as well. The size, and I have actually sat and watched them before to see what it was. So I could tell it was something living. And sometimes you can see the internal parts start moving, like real early on, and you know it's still alive and you're not watching a carcass. Speaking of carcasses, if you like taxidermy, Glorgana was on here earlier, was raiding us and brought her people in. And we often will catch Glorgana at the end of my SEM streams and do a quick raid on her as well. So it's nice to see her. She's still here, hanging out. And if you're grossed out by it, she usually puts a warning on the screen so you can tell from the preview whether it's going to be gross or not. So this little block is moving on its own. And that's a clue that there's something behind it. It could be a rotifer or it could be a water bear. I can't tell yet. It's one or the other. This sort of a pattern of pieces of things moving. Yeah, I saw something peek out, but I couldn't tell what it was. Probably rotifer. Oh, that's a little rotifer. I don't think that's what's moving that whole pile of stuff, though, is it? That's a little tiny rotifer. I thought there was something else kind of crawling around back there, but I guess it's just that little tiny rotifer. But this sample was totally dry when we started, so anything that's in here that's moving around, that's still impressive no matter what it is. It came back from virtually, being completely dried out in this pile of debris. So those little rotifers are kind of cool. I was actually kind of surprised to see one of those because those are kind of rotifers that you see swimming in lakes more frequently than on a stick. Here's another rotifer. Again, this one's up and running. A little tiny one. What's the coolest, most unusual thing you've come across? Uh, I don't, I don't know. That's a hard question. I think all of the little microscopic organisms are kind of cool. I really like, actually, surprisingly, the amoeba are the ones that I kind of like to watch that I think are cool because they just move so slowly. You might miss them in a setting like this. If we're just scrolling around looking for movement, you probably wouldn't notice the amoeba, but they can be really pretty and kind of stunning sometimes. It's a little nematode worm, also come back from the dead. Uh, what's this? I can't tell if it's a water bear or a rotifer. It's a rotifer. Just one leg. Something out here crawling around. Uh, I've seen a bunch of different types of water bears. Um, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to say. I like all the little microorganisms a lot. They're all very interesting to watch. So it's like asking me which one of my kids I like the best or something. It's not really easy to pick one out. I think they all have a different sort of interest. See this guy right here? Just this little orange thing? That's an Arcella. It's a type of amoeba, a testate amoeba. And I thought I saw legs moving in there. If you wait sometimes long enough, you'll see the little pseudopods start to stick out from it. Very, very subtle, poking out from there. I've seen a bunch of mites. I've seen water bears. I mean, lots of these little ciliates. Many of them are very interesting just to sit and watch. It's just beautiful sometimes. So, I don't know. I don't know if I could just say, like, this is the one I like the best or think is the coolest. I can tell you what I'm hoping to find one of these times is a vampire amoeba. The ones that like suck out the living parts from algae. And I think Dell said he had one of those once on his stream. He just didn't notice it when he was live. Like saw it in retrospect, looking back through some of his video. Those would be cool. That's a cool ciliate. I don't know if I can get there without dragging my lens into the actual like mess of stuff. Maybe we'll just try to zoom in virtually here. Oh, there it goes. So those are the little cilia that it uses for moving around. That is a ciliate for sure, like a paramecium. Oops, it's escaping. It's found my weakness, which is knowing which way is up and down on my controls. When I'm looking in the microscope, I can do it, but when I'm looking on the screen, it's sometimes very challenging. Don't go behind a pile of junk either. Nope, it did. It'll come back out maybe. Oh, there it goes. Oh, here's something else. Swimming around in circles. I think that was a rotifer. Yeah, I think it is. Well, we've gone through most of this slide and I haven't seen any water bears yet, but can promise you if I actually set out to do it, we'll find them because I'll start with a stick and I'll just scrape some and scrape some lichen and then we'll end up with a water bear for sure. That is a colpada. That's a type of ciliate. It looks like a little kidney bean. They mostly feed on detritus. There's another one. There's a lot of them in here. That little guy there. That's a colpada. There's a bunch of them. Crawling around. Oops, I'm going to come back out. Zoom back out for a minute. So you can see where I'm going. There's another one. That's again a colpada. Sometimes they'll be full of those because there's a lot of stuff decaying in these samples frequently. And those things like to feed on decaying material. There's the rotifers. There's a lot of stuff going on now. I think basically if you give it a little bit of time, you get a whole bunch of things that start to sort of come back to life. And I suspect if we wait around long enough, some water bears will probably eventually show up, even in this sample. But I don't know. I feel like I've been streaming for quite a while, so I'm probably going to stop soon. I just want to go through the rest of this slide and see if we find anything different. Oh, thank you for the follow. Sorry, I'm sort of like disabled reading chat when I'm trying to manage the microscope. So I could do it over here, but I get really confused which way I'm going then. It's like I get used to working in reverse, and then when it starts going forward, my brain can't do it. That's another dancing nematode worm. All right. Thanks for hanging out, Del. Sorry, I probably left a while ago, but thanks for that. The worm thing? Nematode worm, probably. Unless you mean like in the previous one that was dancing a lot more. That was a chironomid, which is the larva of a insect, a non-biting mosquito-like insect called a midge. You see them sometimes around lakes with big furry antennas. A bunch of colpada. Haven't seen any water bears though. There's a dead rotifer. We're very close to the end of this slide, so I've lost most of our hope that we're going to actually pull a water bear from this sample. But I'll do another stream later this week, probably. and I'll shave down some sticks and we'll start from scratch. I'm pretty sure we'll catch some water bears that way. Nope, I don't think we found any. So those elusive water bears, yeah. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Can't always find everything you want, but we did find some cool stuff. And I'm sure if we looked around a little bit more, we'd find some water bears, but it's like almost midnight here. So I feel like the stream's been going on a while. And I need to take a break. So I'll probably, like I said, we'll do a little later this week. I'll probably do a night stream. Try not to interfere with other people, so it'll probably be like a Tuesday night. That way I'm not interfering with Pacific Plankton or Dell. And we'll just go straight water bear hunting the whole time. So I guess keep an eye out for it. Try a little dark field here. Well, you get a real sense of all those colpoda moving around in there. Like this. All those things in the background. I see them all moving at once. This really low magnification, which is kind of neat. It's a little bit brighter. I think I can. Hey, Jay. I didn't realize you were still here. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. Just checking out my new microscope and hanging out with people, doing a little night stream is nice. So at this point, I will, I think I'll call it an evening. And let's find somebody to raid. We'll swing by and let's see what Freckled Science is doing. All right. Thanks everybody for hanging out as we check out the samples from my koi pond and some sticks that we had from my yard. And it was pretty fun. I had a lot of new followers and some new subscribers as well. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me. And like I said, we'll do it again. I'll be on for sure on Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on the SEM. And I probably will be on Tuesday night from the light microscope, and I may be on Monday afternoon from the SEM. We'll see. I think there's still some gas in the nitrogen tank, and we should be able to look at some stuff. I have some more pollen I'll probably look at on Monday, or maybe I'll work with one of my students and do a little bit of diatom stuff on the SEM. So one or the other. All right, let's go. We'll go catch Freckled Science right now. So thanks everybody for hanging out. And this was really fun, enjoyable little stream. So